Roselli. We have Henry Mitchell, Sean Allen, Christian Josie, Greg Gitter, and Drazen Ginsburg. We have tons of topics this week, from start and sit to waiver targets, to trade targets and predictions for games, and then the lock of a week of who we think is going to win. Today we're going to start with starts and sits, and go.
All right, I will go first. My start is Darrell Henderson. He's played really well the past 2 weeks. Week 2, he got 12 carries and 81 yards, and Week 3, he got 20 carries and 114 yards, and he had a touchdown in both games. He's shown that he can handle volume, and he's gotten yards with it, and like I said, a touchdown. So I think he'll do well against a really, really bad Giants defense, and expect a lot out of him this week.
All right, so for my start, I'm going with my boy Noah Fant, tight end from the Broncos. They're playing one of the worst defenses in the league in the Jets, and I think after they've had some injuries at the quarterback position, they're going to be relying on their, I think, third string. So I think he's going to be passing to tight ends a lot. And Noah Fant, obviously, huge breakout candidate this year. So I'm really liking Noah Fant. I could see some quick passes. I could see him scoring a touchdown in the red zone. I think Noah Fant is definitely a start for y'all this week.
All right, so I'm gonna say my start is Josh Allen. He has 12 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks. He's playing a Raiders D, which is average at best. I think he goes for 5 to 6 touchdowns again.
Okay, so my start this week is Alan Lazard. With Aaron Rodgers evolving to a better passer against a horrible Falcons secondary that allowed plus 400 yards to Dak. Alan Lazard's a great start this week. He's a big hit or go home, so don't flame me if he doesn't do well, but he can hit hard if he wins.
My start this week, I have David Montgomery against the Indianapolis defense. They let Frank Gore rush 15 attempts for 57 yards last year. I see David Montgomery getting at least 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. So you should get him starting.
So I have Tyler Lockett starting this week, and going against the Miami defense. I think he can have the same game that he had last week with 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards.
Okay, so now we're going to go to sits this week, players you think will not do this well this week, and let's go, Sean.
All right, my sit is Corey Davis. A.J. Brown has been out the past 2 weeks, and Corey Davis has still not been able to show that he can take that wide receiver 1 spot from him. He did get 100 yards week 1, but other than that, he hasn't really shown much. He hasn't been a big threat at all for the Titans offense, and I think that'll continue throughout this week. And just the rest of the season, as soon as A.J. Brown comes in, Corey Davis is going to be a non-factor. So I'm definitely sitting him this week.
All right, so my sit is Marquise Brown from the Ravens. This season he really hasn't done much. First game he had like 100 yards, but after that he really didn't do much. Last week I think he had like 15 yards. And I know in fantasy a lot of people are really high on him, but I'm not liking him this week. They're playing the Washington football team, who they have a couple of good players in their secondary, and I think overall their defense is pretty underrated. So and obviously we saw Lamar Jackson extremely underperform on Monday night, less than 100 yards. So I'm not liking Marquise this week.
My say it's gonna be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I say this because against the Patriots last week, Josh Jacobs only had 71 yards and a fumble, and Jacobs, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 running backs in the league, while Hilaire's top 15 right now. I think he gets under 40 yards.
And my sit this week is Antonio Gibson. A lot of people had high hopes for him right when Adrian Peterson got dropped, and I haven't really seen it. J.D. McKissick, Bryce Love, they're getting tons of carries, especially going against this week against the Ravens defense, which I think is probably one of the best defenses in the league. I don't see Antonio Gibson doing anything.
My sitter this week is Myles Gaskin, the running back for the Dolphins. He had a pretty big impact last week against the Jags, getting some yards. But they got the Seattle defense this week, and they held Zeke to 34 yards on 14 rushing attempts last week. So I don't see Myles Gaskin getting much.
So I'm sitting any of the Patriots running backs, and I say this because even though maybe Rex had a great game last week, I just don't see that again. And I think Patriots running backs are very inconsistent, and I think Cam is gonna throw the ball a lot more and not rush it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So the waiver. So last week there was tons of people that broke out, from quarterbacks to wide receivers. Tons of people broke out, and these are our major pickups for this week. Get them on your team and start them, hold on to them, see how they do. Sean.
All right, my waiver wire pickup this week is Miles Gaskin. Despite what Gray said, Miles Gaskin got 22 carries last week against the Jaguars, only 66 yards, but he's shown that he can be that workhorse RB1 for Miami, and I think he has the talent to do it. He's also a good receiving back, so he's not only going to get tons of carries, but he'll get 3, 4 plus receptions a game, and I think he'll have. I'm pretty sure he hasn't scored a touchdown this week, but I think that'll come. And I think he's a really good pickup. I would put him at flex in a deeper league, and he's a very good asset on your bench. So be sure if he's on those waiver wires, pick him up.
Yeah, so a guy I like off waivers is T. Higgins, receiver for the Bengals. He had 2 touchdowns last week, and it was really his game of just like like set in stone, that the fact that he could actually be like a really good receiver in this league. He was an early second round pick out of Clemson, rookie, and I think he's definitely a solid player. You could get off waivers in a deeper league, to put it flex or even wide receiver too if you're struggling, or just a bench asset. So I like T. Higgins, receiver for the Bengals.
My waiver pickup is Brandon Ayuk. He had 16 fantasy points, 5 catches for 70 yards, and then he carried the ball 3 times for 31 yards and scored. Kyle Shanahan wants the ball in his hands, and I think that he's going to be explosive this year.
Okay, so my waiver wire pickup this week is Justin Jefferson. He's barely rostered in many leagues, and I know I'm playing off last week with his 150 plus yards, and he was insane. But Mike Zimmer has always looked for that second guy. He lost Stephon Diggs, and it looks like Justin Jefferson is probably going to replace that spot, especially with Adam Thielen. His history of injuries. Justin Jefferson could propel himself into that number 1 spot in Minnesota.
My waiver wire, I have Dalton Schultz, a tight end for the Cowboys. He hasn't done too much, but we've seen Dak guard him in some high pressure situations. He had a touchdown 2 weeks ago against Atlanta I can't remember if it was to put them down by 7 or tie the game, but he had a big impact that game. And then we saw him get a couple clutch first downs against Seattle as well last week. And he has 147 yards on 14 catches and touchdown this season. I just see that if you can keep him on your bench and let him rise a little bit, I think that's a big waiver pickup for you.
So I'm thinking a big waiver pickup is Tim Patrick on the Broncos. He's a wide receiver. So I'm not saying to start him this week, at most risky flex, but I would get him on your lineup. He'll be a wide receiver 2 or 1 on the Broncos, since Cortland Sutton is injured for the rest of the season. And going against the Jets defense, he can probably do something. Last week he got 40 yards and a touchdown. So I think that you should just keep him on your bench. I would not start him this week, but just let him do his thing during the season. And if he does something, then probably put him in your flex.
Yeah, with just following up to that, I don't know if they're going to really throw to him this week because they have a guy named Brett Ripien, undrafted guy out of college. But maybe when Drew Lock comes back, they can more incorporate him into it. And yeah. So next we have trade targets. We have buy low people who have not been playing well, but they have tons of potential for the future. And sell high targets, people that have been doing extremely well, but you do not think they can maintain it. Sean, here you start with buy low. Sean.
Buy low. My buy low is Joe Mixon. The first 3 weeks of the season, he has been very bad, to say the least. He's gotten the carries. He's just not showing that the yards per carry. They're not there. He's like in the 3 range. He has a skill. He showed last year, especially at the later half of the season, that he can get touchdowns. He can get yards. It's just whether or not his O-line can hold up. I think that's really what's setting him back here. And like last season, he started off slow, or he is starting off slow, and then after their bye week, he just started to ball out. So I think you should try to trade for him, or if you have him, hold on to him because I think he'll definitely ball out in the later half of the season.
Okay, just breaking news. The Titans-Steelers game was just postponed on Sunday, just from ESPN. So you got to focus on Derrick Henry and James Conner. They might not play this week. You got to try to find a backup like Gaskin or Jeff Wilson or something like that. Game was just postponed. Henry, buy low target.
I just want to start off by saying that's pretty disappointing. I have James Conner. He's had 20 points the last 2 weeks. I have an emerging second-year receiver, my boy Deontay Johnson. So it's pretty disappointing. I'm going to have to start Ronald Jones. But all right, let's go into my buy low. So a buy low, I got David Montgomery, running back for the Bears. He hasn't been doing too bad this season. He's had 13 carries week 1, 16 week 2, and 14 week 3. I think he could definitely pick up the carries with Tariq Cohen injured. And I think by the end of the season, he could definitely emerge as like a top 10 running back. He had 18 fantasy points week 2, but only 5 last week. So I think he could definitely emerge as a very solid flex or running back 2 for your fantasy team. I really like David Montgomery the rest of the season.
Let me just add, when we tell you how many players they've scored, this is based off of a standard league, not PPR, half PPR, because we are in a 12-person standard league, so these points are going to be standard-based points.
Yeah.
Mine is T.Y. Hilton. He's averaging 4.4 points a game. I just think this Colts team is going to really emerge starting this week. I personally think they're going to win the division. And I think T.Y. Hilton has had some bad drops. He's messed up. He doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with Phillip Rivers yet. But I think it's going to develop, and I think that by the end of the season, he'll be a top 15 wide receiver.
Okay, so my buy low, well, I guess you could say with Deontay Johnson, but game was just postponed. I mean, maybe not this week, maybe future weeks. You know he's a very talented guy, but my realistically buy low this week is Deshaun Watson. He's been underperforming really a lot, and you know he's a great quarterback. He lost the chemistry with D-Hop, but they got Brandon Cooks, which he can run deep, and Will Fuller, Darren Fells, and he can really do well later in the year.
My buy low, I have Kenyon Drake. You won't be able to buy him too low because he's a first-round pick. So you're going to have to throw in some goodies. But he has not been performing as well as people were expecting him to. He hasn't been really getting that out of the backfield looks that we thought he was, like he was last season. But you could probably get him for a little lower than you expect.
So my buy low is Kerryon Johnson. Going into the draft, I selected Kerryon Johnson because I just thought that he was going to be a number 1 running back, no matter if DeAndre Swift or Adrian Peterson was going to be on the team. Well, we didn't know that Adrian Peterson was going to be on the team, but it's been very inconsistent with Kerryon Johnson, and it seems that Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson are kind of switching every week. Like there was one week when Kerryon Johnson kind of like got 10 plus points, but then Adrian Peterson's getting more touches. So I just think that Kerryon Johnson is a buy low in this. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have sell high. These are people that have been doing pretty well, and you don't really think they can maintain it, and it's kind of hard. So, Sean?
My sell high is James Robinson. He has been amazing these first 3 games. I don't think he'll be able to keep up the pace.
Why?
First off, he's played relatively easy teams, and he's gonna in the second half of the season. I know he plays the Steelers and the Ravens and then the Titans again.
And another thing with that is that Chark is injured right now, and right when Chark comes back, he's the best player on that team, no doubt. I think Minshew loves throwing it deep. So Chark could when Chark comes back, Robinson's production could go down, and also Armstead could come back from COVID list. Devine Ozigbo also could come back. So it's a crowded crew over there, but James Robinson, no doubt, has been awesome. But yeah.
And also, like, he hasn't really been getting that many carries. He hasn't had a game with over 16 carries, and last week he only had 11. He got a lot of points because he got bailed out with 2 touchdowns. Like, he got 11 carries, 46 yards, which is, that's good in yards per carry. But the first week he had 16 carries and 60 yards. So I don't think that he's going to be able to keep up his touchdown pace. I think his carries are going to stay around the same, like 14, 15, that range. And then his yards per carry is going to be probably high 3 or low 4. I just don't see him continuing the pace that he's going to be on, or that he is on now.
All right, so for my sell high, I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Obviously, he was the talk of week 1. He had an amazing game. He was starting to emerge as like people really thought he was a legit player for the Chiefs. But I think for the rest of the season, like obviously Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I feel like he's going to be throwing a lot more than handing it off, and I think Tyreek Hill is going to emerge as possibly the best receiver in the league, and I just think less running for Clyde.
My sell high is Cam Newton. I think that in the passing game, he has been nothing special at all. In my opinion, he's been a little below average. I mean, he has more picks than passing touchdowns, or around the same. The only thing that bails him out in fantasy is rushing from the 1 yard line, which teams are going to find a way to stop, as you saw in the Seahawks last play. And I also think he's running a ton and getting hit. I think he's going to get banged up. For the rest of the season, I don't see him being a top 20 quarterback.
Following up with banged up, my sell high, James Conner. No doubt, 3 years ago, top 5 running back. I mean, he has the ability to do that, but especially with this Pittsburgh offense evolving with Juju and even Jalen Samuels getting some carries, Benny Snell, they're getting carries. James Conner, I think, will have a couple good weeks, but you cannot have too much faith in him, especially because he's one of the most injury-prone guys in the league.
No, James Conner, when he plays, he is very, very good. The only concern with him is whether or not he plays because he gets injured so much. Like, Benny Snell's a great guy to have on your bench for those weeks that James Conner's out, because we saw that in week 1. I just don't trust James Conner. I wouldn't want him on my team because of his injury risks.
My sell high, I have Allen Lazard. We saw him being a big target last week against the Saints with over 100 yards and a touchdown. But I think with Devontae Adams coming back from injury last week, I think that he's going to get a lot less receptions. I think you can get a lot for him in your leagues.
Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling about Alan Lazard too. And I mean, the chemistry between Lazard and Aaron Rodgers was phenomenal last week. And I think going against Atlanta Falcons defense, I think Devontae Adams is just going to smoke defense. And I'm really low about Alan Lazard. Also, I don't think he'll have the same game as last week.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to predictions. We have a couple of games, and can you pull up the game schedule for me, please? And we can look at predictions, give a little score intake, and see what will happen.
Yeah, hold on.
So are we doing locks right now, or are we just doing overall?
Let's do our 3 games of predictions. So our first game of the slate is Chiefs and who?
Chiefs, Patriots.
Chiefs and Patriots. Okay, so Sean, you can start off.
I have the Chiefs on this one. We saw how good they played against the Ravens. Whether that was Lamar Jackson playing very bad or the Chiefs' defense playing very good or a combination of both, their defense played well. Their offense played amazing. Patrick Mahomes did Patrick Mahomes things. I think Chiefs take this one easily.
Yeah, so I think this is definitely going to be a good game. I think what Christian was saying about Cam Newton, I'm not 100% agreeing with that. I actually think Cam Newton could emerge as a great quarterback again. So I think the Patriots actually do have a chance in this game, but I don't know. The Chiefs are just such an overpowered team, obviously with Mahomes, and it's just that offense is just so good. I wish their what?
Keep going.
I wish their defense could get a little bit better, but Yeah, I think they're too much for the Patriots. So yeah, I got the Chiefs.
Okay, for me, as much as I want to say Patriots, thinking Cam will be the MVP who once was, I have to go Chiefs here. They have tons of options here. They're even targeting DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins. They have like all the receivers could be wide receiver ones on their own team. So Chiefs here by a good amount. Yeah.
I got Chiefs. I just think that they're gonna do a really good job of spreading out the Patriots defense, whether it's through the air and then they can put it on the ground with Clyde Edwards-Helaire or vice versa. I just think that the Patriots are gonna have a hard time stopping their offense, and they're just not gonna be able to keep up. I got Chiefs.
So actually, I have an upset. I think the Patriots are going to pull this one out. And I think Cam's going to go off. And I think the Patriots defense has the potential to stop the Kansas City Chiefs offense, even if it is overpowered. But I do think that the Patriots can pull this off.
I personally don't think the Patriots have a chance in this one. I think that the run game will be stopped. Cam, in my opinion, is not a good passer. I think he doesn't throw a touchdown. I say multiple picks. I'd have the Chiefs by at least 17.
Okay, so we're gonna have to go to our lock of the week here. Everybody's gonna say a team they are certain is gonna win, no matter circumstances. And Sean.
I think that the Buccaneers will beat the Chargers no matter what. We saw their defense perform very well last year. Their offense, of course, with Brady and Mike Evans, even though Chris Godwin, I'm pretty sure, is going to be out. Against the Panthers, the Buccaneers, like Mike Evans still went off, even though Panthers defense is horrible. I have Bucks locked on this one. Their defense and offense is just going to overtake the Chargers.
My lock of the week is the Seahawks over the Dolphins. I just think Russ is MVP candidate. Him, Rodgers, and Josh Allen. I think that he throws 4 touchdowns, rushes for 1. I think it's not even going to be close.
Okay, Henry.
So my lock of the week is the Cowboys versus the Browns. I don't dislike the Browns team at all. Right now the Cowboys, their offense is one of my favorites. I really like how Dak is playing. He's obviously the passing leader in the league, and I really like their receivers. They're definitely emerging as one of the most talented teams. Obviously, they still have Zeke, who even if he has a bad week, it's still better than half the running backs in the league. So I think the Cowboys are a lock against the Browns.
My lock this week is, you can say every week, any team facing the Giants. Daniel Jones has been abysmal. Sterling Shepard's out. Evan Ingram hasn't gotten target. Slayton had one good game, and no doubt he's a great player. But, yeah, the Rams look good. Jalen Ramsey can probably shut down all of them with his eyes closed. And Aaron Donald will make him Daniel Jones fumble a million times. So I got Rams winning by a lot there.
My lock of the week, I have Ravens over the Washington football team. I just see the Ravens just killing them. I think we're going to see a big bounce back week from Lamar after having less than 100 passing yards last week. I think they're going to come with a little hunch on their shoulder.
So my lock-in is it's actually the Falcons and Packers, and I got the Packers. And why I'm saying this is because even though it'll be an offensive battle because both defenses are awful, I think that Aaron Rodgers is actually going to go off and the Packers got an okay defense, and I think that they can stop somehow the Falcons, and the Packers have been high scoring for the most part, and I think that they can do it in this game.
Okay, so now moving on to our final and last segment, we have Super Bowl contenders and Super Bowl matchups. We're going to be moving and seeing what teams we think will actually win the Super Bowl. Some dark horses. Maybe the Bills is a dark horse, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Sean, you can go.
All right, I think that the Chiefs will beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs showed last game against the Ravens that they are still a very, very good team. Mahomes can win MVP again. He's just like that. The Chiefs are like that. And then Russell Wilson also could win MVP. He's been playing out of his mind. I think that's going to be a very good matchup. But I do have the Chiefs winning. I think they win back-to-back Super Bowls.
All right, my prediction is same matchup, Chiefs Seahawks, but I got the Seahawks. Another team I really like is the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will play the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, and the Seahawks will win. And I think Russell Wilson will win MVP by a landslide. Yes, over Josh Allen by a landslide. Yeah, so I got the Seahawks. Their offense is just so good behind Wilson. Even if what's his name? The running back, Chris Carson. Even if he's injured for a little bit, I still see Tyler Lockett being top-notch receiver. Their defense isn't great, but I think Russell Wilson will carry them to the Super Bowl and they'll beat the Chiefs.
So in the AFC, the only people I see being contenders is the Chiefs and the Bills. Maybe the Steelers. I think the Ravens are not that good of a team. And then the NFC, I have the Packers and the Seahawks. And in the Super Bowl, I have the Bills and the Packers. And I don't know who will win. Probably the Packers.
Bills are not going to the Super Bowl. They haven't really played competition yet.
You said that last week, but then we played the
You
Rams.
can't say anything here yet. It's still week 3.
The Rams are not going to
The Rams almost beat them.
Josh Allen had 5 touchdowns.
They're gonna let that type of comeback almost succeed. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl.
No,
But Josh Allen had 5 touchdowns.
And he fumbled, but almost make him lose the game. I mean, they're definitely more really talented team, but against really good competition, I don't think they can do it.
They also
the Bills will win one playoff. They'll win one playoff game and then they'll leave.
Yeah.
Last week, y'all said, they haven't faced competition when they played the Rams. Josh Allen's going to choke. He had 300 yards, 5
Yeah, but how much did they win by? How many touchdowns did he throw in the fourth quarter?
Dak is still better.
Yes.
All right.
Dak is better than Josh Allen, bro. I don't care.
That's just how it
Okay,
is.
so my Super Bowl winner comes down to 4 teams: Seahawks, Chiefs, Packers, Cowboys. Personally, I could probably beat out the Cowboys because they're not. They always choke. They find a way to choke, and I don't think they're going to win it. Packers, I think they have enough experience and a good enough front seven to maybe win, especially with Aaron Rodgers coming back and having a comeback player of the year kind of moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if the Packers are going to win a Super Bowl, now's the time. Aaron Rodgers, I think after this season will not be able to take them to another Super Bowl if he ends up.
Yeah, because they drafted a quarterback.
Jordan Love is really good.
Yeah,
I think that was a good pick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a good pick, but he's a good quarterback.
It's the same situation as Rodgers and Brett Favre. I know,
but Rodgers still has a couple years of not great playing.
And same with Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe, kind of like that. So
yeah.
For AFC, I have the Bills and Chiefs are my 2 forerunners, but I think a big dark horse in the AFC is going to be the Steelers. I think they haven't really proved anything quite yet. They beat the Texans by a touchdown, but I think this team has a lot of talent on it, and I think that Juju could really step up as a big number 1 receiver for him. And if James Conner keeps lighting it up like he has been, I think teams are going to have a hard time stopping them. And then NFC, I have Seahawks, Packers, like everyone else said. You can't really argue it. The Packers just look great. And in the Seahawks, you can't argue that either. Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, you can't not like DK Metcalf. You have to like that team, basically. But I think a big dark horse in the NFC is going to be the Cardinals. I think they got a star-studded roster, and I think they're going to show it later on this season. I have them going wild card to Super Bowl and losing in the Super Bowl to Chiefs.
No, their defense just is not good enough to hold up with any playoff team.
Baker, bruh.
They're better
I
than
don't
the
think their
Cowboys.
offense will be consistent.
They're better than the Cowboys. They're better than the Cowboys.
Cowboys are more talented. They're one of the most talented teams in the league. They can't pull it together. They're the most.
Year that the Cowboys are going to do something, then they go 8-8.
No, because Kyler Murray throws too many picks. Their defense is not good enough. and Kenyon Drake just hasn't shown it yet. And their O-line is
Murray is
However,
going
You know,
to
Kenyon Drake
It's
is
gonna
no
break
doubt really talented. It's just Kyler Murray's taken all the fame there with the rushing touchdowns and everything. That's personally why his fantasy production has gone way down. It's definitely because of Kyler running the ball more. Same with the three monsters at Baltimore: Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. They're all using them, but Lamar's taking all the rushing. They were the leading rushers last year by far, and now in fantasy you can't even choose one of them to play. So, and Lamar hasn't even been that good either.
Nobody's
So,
like Gus Edwards, buddy.
Yeah, no, he's.
I know that, but still, he's just annoying the fantasy managers who have J.K. Dobbins, who have Mark Ingram and stuff. So yeah,
That's
I want
understandable.
to talk about the Cowboys because y'all act like they're a Super Bowl
the
team. but
Cowboys
they're
are really
Oh.
talented, but
their
you know, in the
defense is-
end, I don't think they're
defense
going
is
to pull
bottom
together.
five.
Just because
Well,
you don't like them doesn't mean they're not good. I
at
don't
least
think either.
NFC championship team.
I think there's
Yeah.
tiers of playoff teams. So
Right.
I think like the Cowboys and the Bills are in one tier where they'll either lose in the first game of the playoffs or they'll lose in the
Yeah,
first game, lose in the second.
Cowboys-
And then above those two teams, you have teams like the Chiefs, the Packers, and the Seahawks. Also the
I
Saints.
mean, no one's talking about the Ravens. Do you really think they could pull together in playoffs?
No.
I mean,
They're
I
not
think
in the Super Bowl.
depending upon how Lamar does, they can pull out a playoff game or two. But I don't think they'll go
If
any
you
farther.
take away Lamar from that team, it's really
And what about the Bears? The Bears are undefeated, boys.
But they're not. Maybe they'll make the playoffs. They
I mean,
could-
my boy
Better
Nick
than the
Foles.
Cowboys. They're better
Nick
than the
Foles
Cowboys.
is going to win another one, boys.
Okay, I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
What is y'all's perception, or what do y'all think about the situation with Mitch?
He's done. His career is
It's
over.
trash, bro.
I think he, if anything, he'll get an opportunity somewhere else. But I low-key think they pulled him too quickly.
Facts.
'Cause-
I mean, I think they ended up making the right decision.
Yeah, no, they definitely did. But
This is-
he was. I think the stat was he was 13 for 28, which is not good at all.
But Nick Foles' completion percentage wasn't that good either.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I think they just pulled him. He was 2-0, and I mean, it didn't look like he was going to come back and win that game for him. It just looked to me like they pulled him.
Yeah, I agree. They shouldn't have pulled him that early. It's week 3. Like,
I mean, you can see this week with the Bills and the Colts. The Colts have an amazing defense. See how Nick Foles does against them. Let's say Nick Foles has a bad game, they might put Trubisky back in the next game. You have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I would not be surprised if Trubisky got back to starting. I think it'll take a few games.
They draft him so high, they just can't throw him away like that. I mean, look at Dwayne
think
Haskins.
this scenario, he'll get a shot somewhere else. You can't get drafted. Like, he hasn't. Last year, he didn't play that well, but we've seen them go deep in the playoffs.
Well,
when
what about
Cody
Josh
Parkey
Rosen?
double dink.
What about
Yeah.
Josh Rosen?
but Josh Rosen's so much worse than him.
Yeah, Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen's
He's
never
not
had
even in the picture. He's probably working as an accountant somewhere right now. He's just completely out
Dude,
of the picture.
I want to see Tua emerge. Like, I know Ryan Fitzpatrick having a great season, but I want them to play Tua. I actually really like Tua. I think if he can eventually get a starting job, like if Fitzpatrick gets traded or something, I really want to see him do really well because he's very talented.
They will not win over 6 games.
Who, the Dolphins?
Yep.
Wait,
I
they
think
will or won't?
the Dolphins have a lot of upside for the future, but right now I don't
Yeah.
see it. But they actually look kind of good,
They
especially
actually
with real life. Jordan Howard, yeah, he can score
He scores
touchdowns.
touchdowns, but he gets 1 yard a game. That's the thing.
I mean, that's good for the Dolphins, correct? You get a touchdown a game from him. And then
You wanna know who
Gesicki's good. Devontae Parker.
Y'all know who I'm really excited to see, or I don't think we're gonna end up seeing him this season.
Who?
I don't know. God forbid Teddy Bridgewater get hurt because he's having a pretty good season right now for the Panthers. God forbid. I would love to see PJ Walker play.
Dude.
That
Dude,
man
the
is the
NFL?
dog in the XFL.
Oh, except yeah.
I just want to see him light it up for one game. I don't even care. I don't care. We're not. I mean, maybe at the end of the season when we know we're not going to make the playoffs, or maybe just maybe we clinch a playoff. That's definitely not going to happen. But
Yeah.
I can hope, because I'm just saying our division's wide open with the Saints 1 and 2. The Saints are 1 and 2. We're 1 and 2.
Bucks
Tampa
are two.
Bay's 2 and 1, and the Falcons are 0 and 3.
The Bucks are 2-1.
Yeah,
Didn't-
that's what-
Didn't we get another guy from PJ Walker's team?
Yeah, we got Cam Phillips. We dropped him.
He was for real.
But do we know who's? Is it Will Greer?
Yeah.
Here's the backup.
He's
'Cause-
30.
Right
true.
now, PJ Walker is inactive. If you look on the inactive roster, he's on it.
He is? I just want to see him ball out. He was
Yeah.
crazy in the XFL.
Yeah. What about the Vikings? What do you guys think about them?
They
They're
suck.
trash.
Yeah,
Okay.
their defense is nowhere near what it was. It's
Kirk
just their
Cousins.
offense
If
is.
Kirk Cousins
Like, you
does,
think they have all the star power. They have Harrison Smith. They have Daniil Hunter. Like, what happened to that? I don't
Harrison
understand.
Smith's
Well,
over.
Daniil Hunter's gone.
Oh, that's
Oh.
true.
He's a Cowboy, and they really just traded him to get Yannick Ngakoue, but Yannick Ngakoue isn't even that nice.
He's
And
been-
Harrison Smith just hasn't been having a good season. They've really just gone downhill since that NFC Championship year.
And that offense is still really good. It's just that defense is horrible.
No, Kirk Cousins has not been doing well.
Kirk Cousins, week 2, had 3 picks.
They
Like,
need to get rid of him. They need to get rid of him.
they paid him so much too.
No, that's.
He got like an $80 million deal. That's crazy.
I saw this meme during all the riots and everything, and it was the looters in Minnesota, and it was a complete empty store, and then there's a rack of Kirk Cousins jerseys.
But yeah.
All right.
So, should we conclude this year, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this concludes episode 2 of our Third and Long podcast. Happy to see y'all. Thanks for listening, and come back for next week. More intake, more info, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.